Remakes of cult classics don't always work out, but the re-envisioning of the Troma splatter-fest, the Toxic Avenger, works on some levels it really shouldn't. When a downtrodden janitor, Winston Gooze, is exposed to a catastrophic toxic accident, he's transformed into a new kind of hero, the Toxic Avenger. Now, Toxie must rise from outcast to savior, taking on ruthless corporate overlords and corrupt forces who threaten his son, his friends, and his community. In a world where greed runs rampant, justice is best served radioactive. This sat in distribution limbo for almost 2 years, finally securing a distributor and release schedule after premiering at festivals back in 2023. Macon Blair wrote and directed this adaptation of the 1984 classic, taking the essence and the heart of the original and then tweaking it so that it fits within our modern world. Kind of. What we do get from the production, it's an odd mix of current mindsets and technology-ish, but clothing, set designs, overall aesthetics, they would feel very at home in the early 90s. And this creates a bit of a confusing time era, but it also works to make it somewhat timeless. Since it's not locked solely in one decade or another, it's fine if you think it's happening in the 80s or even the 90s. Now, if you're planning on seeing this, you need to be aware of what it is that you're actually going to see. Some may go into this thinking it's going to be a violent bloodbath, similar to Terrifier. And while the dark humor is right in line with that franchise, as is some of the violence, this has a cheesy and campy quality to it that can leave some more disappointed than enthralled. Now, I knew exactly what I was in for, and the movie didn't disappoint when it came to paying homage to the original. Now, admittedly, I haven't seen the original Toxie well over a decade, so it may not hold up in the slightest. But the nostalgic memory is strong, and that had me salivating to check this one out. Before being a violent splatter comedy, this is a satire, and it's on point with both relevance and hilarity. The film pokes fun at modern problems and thought processes while still maintaining the nostalgic haze of past decades. The scene that was used in the trailer, and that's the one within the fast food restaurant, it's a perfect example. The dialogue is witty and used to showcase small-minded ideologies like misogyny and gender roles. But it's not just the dialogue that's pointed. The background is just littered with hilarious imagery reinforcing all that's being said out loud. And that's just one brief area that the film uses to create a satirical look at our society. There are news broadcasts, radio and TV commercials, even just random signage that's sprinkled throughout the scenes. All of it is cleverly placed to add some laughs as well as pointing out areas that require change. Now, this is darkly comedic, but it's not consistently funny. There are some wonderfully abrupt moments of fun, and then scenes can create bursts of laughter, especially when the violence or actions are unexpected and sudden. But I wasn't laughing all the way through this. And when the humor comes on, it's tightly executed and sometimes very subtle, but there wasn't uproarious laughter throughout the entire film. Peter Dinklage is superb, especially in the first act, where we can feel his anguish and mental torment. He's browbeaten and defeated, with his vocalizations and just general posture instantly communicating a timid but sincere personality. And as always, his voice is just soothing and resonant, containing warmth along with his depression. And although he isn't physically the Toxic Avenger, another actor, Luisa Guerrero, she performs in the prosthetics, Dinklage's voice continues to emote all of the necessary regret, sadness, and rage that the character's experiencing. Taylor Page is the wild card within the story, throwing a wrench into the villain's plans in ways she never intended. Her dynamic with Dinklage, it's good because it's strained and snarky. I mean, she's impatiently driven, and she doesn't have time for his reconciling with his new physique, which then leads to some excellent dialogue exchanges. And I like, too, that Page can balance the silly with the vicious. She can be fierce, but she doesn't lose her sense of timing, expertly just deadpanning certain situations so that the dry humor is maximized. Kevin Bacon is awesome as a baddie. I mean, he's hammy, smarmy, and ridiculous, believing that he is menacing and terrible, but he's really just a self-absorbed gym bro with boy band hair. He's certainly over the top, but it works for what the film is. There are points, however, that with the focus on his corporate baddie, it lingers for extended periods, moving the scene from cringy and awkward in a positive way to just being simply uncomfortably sad. And that equates to making the entire runtime a little long. And some scenes, especially with Bacon, they drag the pace. And there's also a lot of focus on a tertiary villain, and while it can help a bit with some additional context, the time that's spent on them and their goons, it's not warranted with the payoff that we get. Elijah Wood is doing his best to resemble Danny DeVito's The Penguin with a pale complexion, sunken eyes, wispy hair, and this bent-over posture with a black suit and cane outfit just to complete the look. And Wood sinks right into his persona, and he appears to be having a blast with the character. What I appreciate most about the way that his character is written and established is that while he may come across as a one-dimensional thug, he's way more complex, and some surprises come with unexpected emotion. Even Jacob Tremblay gets moments to shine in this. He doesn't have a ton of screen time, but when he's on, his trembling persona complements Dinklage's similar demeanor. They almost mirror each other, but not in the same manner. There are a few times also where Tremblay is physically in the background, but he's still clearly the focal point, performing some strange movements that are most likely going to elicit a chuckle. Now, the random baddies in this, they're silly, especially a literal band of thugs who have to take time out of their performing to run tasks for the villains. Now, the group is made up of a juggalo, a parkour ninja, an enigmatic goth who speaks in some unknown language, which then has its own in-joke, a dollar store Lenny Kravitz, and then, of course, Chicken Joe. The henchmen, they are generic, and that's exactly how they should be. They're basically the no-name extras who take a beating for our enjoyment. And the band is pretty humorous, especially the ninja dude who has this running narration for all of his movements. And other villain flunkies, they get even less screen time, and they are truly just the throwaway characters. Their names are said out loud, but that doesn't mean that we know who's being referred to. And it's still not an issue because the only thing we should want from them is to see shock and terror, and maybe some entrails. And that's something that's excellent as well. The prosthetics, makeup, and practical effects, they are disgusting and horrific, with several scenes of jaw-dropping grotesqueness. And while the violence isn't non-stop throughout the movie, when it comes on, it's brutal. From faces and other random body parts being ripped away to this dark, bluish-purple ooze that's coming from Toxie's orifices, they all work in conjunction to create something heinous and beautiful. Now, if you're going to see this, don't be like all of the people who were in the theater when I saw it. Stay in your seat until the very end. There is a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene, with the final one being an extended single take that is just bizarrely calming. Overall, the Toxic Avenger delivers exactly what it promises. He's the hero we need now, and his justice is best served radioactive. Peter Dinklage is spectacular in the lead, giving warmth and charisma to an otherwise hideous-looking character. While some scenes linger on Kevin Bacon's performance for too long, dragging down the pace, the satirical writing and dialogue more than make up for the occasional slowness. If you're a fan of the original, this is an outstanding remake, keeping all of the silliness and savagery while also giving this story its own flair. There's no sex, some nudity, a ton of profanity, and then an immense amount of violence. I give the Toxic Avenger 4 out of 5 couches. So have you seen this one yet? I'm curious to know what others have thought of the film. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.